Tonight, the president takes his case for health care reform, including a public insurance option, directly to Congress and you.
I am not the first president to take up this cause, but I am determined to be the last.
I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, a cervical cancer vaccine for boys. The HPV vaccine may be put to a new use. Apple's Steve Jobs returns to work after a 6-month leave of absence for a life-saving liver transplant. And remembering Walter Cronkite and the time a president caught in a storm got an invitation to go sailing.
He said, somebody might take a picture of it, but so what? At the time, I could have done with a picture with Walter Cronkite.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
And this is a special Western edition. Good evening, everyone. President Obama certainly hopes you were watching tonight as he went on national television to promote health care reform in a rare appearance before a joint session of Congress. The president is trying to rescue the signature domestic issue of his presidency. Here's our chief White House correspondent, Chip Reed.
Before a rare joint session of Congress, President Obama made his most complete argument yet for comprehensive health care reform.
Our collective failure to meet this challenge, year after year, decade after decade, has led us to the breaking point. Everyone understands the extraordinary hardships that are placed on the uninsured, who live every day just one accident or illness away from bankruptcy. These are not primarily people on welfare. These are middle-class Americans. Some can't get insurance on the job. Others are self-employed and can't afford it, since buying insurance on your own costs you 3 times as much as the coverage you get from your employer.
The president tried to convince millions of skeptical Americans who already have insurance that they too will be better off if health care reform is passed.
If you are among the hundreds of millions of Americans who already have health insurance through your job, or Medicare, or Medicaid, or the VA, nothing in this plan will require you or your employer to change the coverage of the doctor you have. Let me repeat this. Nothing in our plan requires you to change what you have. What this plan will do is make the insurance you have work better for you. Under this plan, it will be against the law for insurance companies to deny you coverage because of a pre-existing condition. As soon as I sign this bill, it will be against the law for insurance companies to drop your coverage when you get sick or water it down when you need it the most.
He said the tens of millions of Americans who have no health insurance will finally be able to get it. And he explained in some detail how that part of his plan will work.
Now, if you're one of the tens of millions of Americans who don't currently have health insurance, the second part of this plan will finally offer you quality, affordable choices. If you lose your job or you change your job, you'll be able to get coverage. If you strike out on your own and start a small business, you'll be able to get coverage. We'll do this by creating a new insurance exchange, a marketplace where individuals and small businesses will be able to shop for health insurance at competitive prices. Insurance companies will have an incentive to participate in this exchange because it lets them compete for millions of new customers.
He gave a strong defense of the so-called public option, a government insurance plan that would compete with private ones.
Let me be clear, it would only be an option for those who don't have insurance. No one would be forced to choose it. And it would not impact those of you who already have insurance. In fact, based on Congressional Budget Office estimates, we believe that less than 5% of Americans would sign up. Despite all this, the insurance companies and their allies don't like this idea. They argue that these private companies can't fairly compete with the government. And they'd be right if taxpayers were subsidizing this public insurance option. But they won't be. I've insisted that, like any private insurance company, the public insurance option would have to be self-sufficient and rely on the premiums it collects.
The president harshly criticized opponents of reform for resorting to scare tactics.
Too many have used this as an opportunity to score short-term political points, even if it robs the country of our opportunity to solve a long-term challenge. And out of this blizzard of charges and countercharges, confusion has reigned. Well, the time for bickering is over. The time for games has passed. Now is the season for action. Now is when we must bring the best ideas of both parties together and show the American people that we can still do what we were sent here to do. Now is the time to deliver on health care.
After a difficult August recess, the White House hopes this speech will give the president new momentum as the battle over health care reform enters a new high-stakes phase. Chip Reed, CBS News, the White House.
In this battle over health care reform, we've been hearing a lot about the differences between Democrats and Republicans. What's gotten less attention is the areas where they agree, and believe it or not, there actually are some. Nancy Cordes has more on that tonight.
After fighting major health care reform tooth and nail, Republican leaders shifted gears today, calling for compromise on a smaller reform package.
I think what we ought to do is concentrate on the areas where we agree.
There are, after all, broad areas where Democrats and Republicans actually see eye to eye. Both sides favor clamping down on insurance companies that drop customers for pre-existing conditions. Both sides believe in portability, allowing Americans to keep their insurance when they move from job to job. And both believe in allowing insurance companies to sell policies across state lines as a way to boost competition.
On 80% of the issues, Republicans and Democrats agree, and you would think that out of that, especially on an issue this large that affects so many people, that what we would do is focus on the 80%.
But that other 20% is a doozy. Many Democrats consider a government-run public insurance option essential to creating competition, driving down costs, and ensuring more Americans. Republicans oppose it so strenuously that today they welcomed an ambulance to Capitol Hill, carrying a petition with 1.2 million signatures against the public option.
Our health care, the most personal of all things to us, is going to be ruined by a government takeover.
And months of talks among a small group of 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans have failed to produce an agreement, creating deep skepticism among Democrats that Republicans really want a deal.
You reach out to these people, and the rest of us are sort of sitting there blinking.
It's safe to say there's a lot of mistrust on both sides at this point, and that would make finding compromise, even on a scaled-back bill, a big challenge. Nancy Cordes, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Also in Washington, the Supreme Court returned to work earlier than usual to hear arguments in a key freedom of speech case involving this film critical of then presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. The Federal Election Commission said though it was billed as a documentary, it was actually a campaign ad funded by a corporation and could not be aired within 30 days of a primary. In health news, an FDA panel today recommended the approval of Cervarix for girls and young women. Now, it's the second vaccine against HPV, a virus that's the leading cause of cervical cancer. The panel also endorsed the use of the original vaccine, Gardasil, for boys and young men. More now from medical correspondent Dr. John LaPook.
One less. Gardasil.
Gardasil, already a billion-dollar vaccine marketed worldwide to young women, was endorsed today for use in young men, too.
Gardasil is efficacious in the prevention of genital warts caused by HPV.
Studies of more than 5,000 boys and men found Gardasil was 89% effective at preventing genital warts, which affect an estimated 1 million American men and women. The same virus also causes rare cases of anal, genital, and oral cancers in men.
This vaccine in the future may help to prevent cancers caused by HPV in males as well as females. And I think this is a tremendous opportunity for our sons.
But Shoshana Blasko wonders if it's worth giving a vaccine for an infection that usually clears up on its own.
Without further research, I'm very uncomfortable giving it to my children.
She's aware of a recent study finding Gardasil was generally safe in females, but was linked to side effects, including rare cases of blood clots. And her son, Evan, doesn't think he needs protection against a sexually transmitted virus.
12-year-olds aren't going to be having sex, so there's no point to get the vaccine.
Doctors agree preventing a virus that causes both infection and cancer makes sense. But some are unconvinced this vaccine is the answer. The series of 3 shots cost $390.
And I would love my daughter and my son to get a vaccination that would prevent any kind of HPV, but it has to be at no cost. And I don't mean financial cost, I mean at no health risk cost.
No serious side effects have been reported in males. The drug maker Merck, which paid for the research, is seeking approval for use in boys and young men ages 9 to 26. Katie?
Dr. John LaPook. John, thanks very much. In Mexico today, a hijacking ended without anyone getting injured. Aeromexico Flight 576 was en route from Cancun when several men threatened to blow it up unless they were allowed to speak with Mexico's president. Once it landed in Mexico City, the hijackers released all 112 passengers and crew. Police then stormed the 737 and, without firing a shot, arrested as many as 8 suspects. No bomb was found, and authorities later described the ringleader as a religious fanatic from Bolivia. Coming up next, right here on the CBS Evening News, why this salty water found deep inside the mountains of South America could help solve our energy crisis. For generations, fossil fuels have been the main source of energy for lighting our homes and powering our cars. But now Americans are looking for new, greener sources of power. Mark Strassman found one in the Andes Mountains of South America.
Nothing grows in Chile's Salar de Atacama Desert, the driest place on the planet and one of the most remote. But to Tim McKenna, what's underground is paradise.
It has the ideal conditions for what you see here.
McKenna's company produces lithium, the world's lightest metal. And lithium powers the batteries in the cell phones, Blackberries, and laptops that power the world.
This is the richest deposit, ideal conditions, and that's why it works here.
Melting snow from the Andes Mountains runs into underground brine pools. That brine is pumped out. And in this network of ponds, the desert sun evaporates out other salts.
The sun basically does all the work.
The brine's processed into white powder, lithium carbonate, a growing part of the world's energy future. 2 companies, one American, one Chilean, produce half the world's lithium right in this salt basin. And as a source of battery power, demand for lithium is about to soar. This fall, Mercedes will sell the first lithium-powered plug-in car. At least 6 more car makers plan their own models. Chevy expects its new Volt to get 230 miles per gallon off just one charge.
This could have a massive effect on lithium demand.
Here's why. In your cell phone or BlackBerry's battery, the lithium weighs 1/10 of an ounce. In a plug-in car, the battery's lithium weighs 20 pounds. In 10 years, lithium's price per pound has tripled to around $3, with only 3 major companies dominating the world's market in a half-dozen countries. Chile, the largest supplier, has been called the Saudi Arabia of lithium.
It looks very similar to an OPEC-style cartel. It's highly concentrated. The various producers are sort of secretive about their expansion plans, about their pricing movements.
Lithium producers deny that. Consumers will wait and see. But no question, in the world's evolving energy science, lithium means power. Mark Strassman, CBS News, in the Salar de Atacama, Chile.
NASA gave us a look today at the sharpest pictures ever from deep space from the newly repaired Hubble Space Telescope. Now, to give you some perspective, this picture was taken from Earth and shows a galaxy 6 million light years away. Here is that same galaxy photographed in vivid detail by one of Hubble's new cameras. Some other new images include a close-up view of a nebula, which is a dying star blowing off its outer atmosphere, shaped like a butterfly, and a cluster of 5 galaxies. Coming up, Steve Jobs back on the job. Apple CEO Steve Jobs today made his first public appearance since getting a new liver 5 months ago. And John Blackstone tells us the life-saving procedure has him promoting much more than Apple's newest bells and whistles.
Simply by walking onto the stage, Steve Jobs got a standing ovation.
I'm very happy to be here today with you all.
For the first time, the 54-year-old CEO publicly acknowledged the liver transplant this spring that saved his life.
I now have the liver of a mid-20s person who died in a car crash.
Over the years, Jobs has been Apple's super salesman, but his dramatic weight loss last year raised new concerns about his health. This year, he took a leave. Today was his public return.
So, I'm vertical. I'm back at Apple, loving every day of it.
Over 100,000 people are now on the list for an organ transplant in the United States. About 18 die every day waiting. So today, before he got down to selling iPods, Jobs made another pitch.
I hope all of us can be as generous and elect to become organ donors.
Jobs got his transplant in Tennessee, where the waiting list is short, just 210 currently. Here in California, more than 3,500 are waiting for new livers.
Those that have the resources and the capabilities of traveling to an area, for example, with a shorter waiting list, have the right to do so.
Well, Jobs remains thin. The fact that he was back selling is certain to cheer Apple enthusiasts. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
In other news, U.S. Marshals are preparing to sell Bernard Madoff's homes to pay back victims of his Ponzi scheme. Today, they released pictures of his Manhattan apartment, estimated value $7 million. Also for sale, his estate in Palm Beach, Florida, worth about $11 million. And his yacht, $2 million. Coming up next, remembering Walter Cronkite.
He was a voice of certainty in a world that was growing more and more uncertain.
And finally tonight, there was a memorial service here in New York today, a celebration really of Walter Cronkite and his amazing life and career.
As the son of a sailor, I went out on the sea for adventure.
It is a deep honor to be here to pay respects to an extraordinary man who touched the lives of so many in such a simple yet profound way.
Walter was amazing. He loved his country, he loved people, he loved his job, and he loved CBS News.
I was overwhelmed sitting across from the anchor, the man for whom the term was coined, whose very presence had defined the job.
Son of a sailor.
In a very tumultuous summer in our personal lives, we were up on Martha's Vineyard, and Walter Cronkite picked up the phone and he said, "Betsy and I want you to go sailing with us." Somebody might take a picture of it, but so what? At the time, I could have done with a picture with Walter Cronkite.
I can't imagine what it would be like to come to work every day and actually be able to work with Walter Cronkite.
Walter wasn't the best anchorman there ever was for me. He was my friend. If it can be said about any individual in our business that he's been a force for good in the world, Walter Cronkite was that person.
I heard that during the memorial service for Ed Bradley, Walter leaned over to someone and said wistfully, "They'll never do that for me." Well, Walter, we did, and we hope you're enjoying it.
Like many of you here today, I feel blessed to be part of a profession that gave the country Walter Cronkite.
It was not important that we trusted Walter. What was important is that Walter trusted us.
Nancy, Kathy, and Chip, I want to begin by thanking you for sharing him with all the rest of us, for in so many ways, Walter Cronkite was also our dad.
He wore the uniform of a war correspondent and reported from the North Atlantic, North Africa, Western Europe,
Southeast Asia.
Through all our moments of deepest hurt and brightest hope, Walter Cronkite was there.
Walter Cronkite loved the news, and we loved Walter Cronkite for it. What a man.
And that's the way it was, Walter, and always will be.
And that is the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'll be back at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 in the West with our live coverage of the President's address. Until then, I'm Katie Couric. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.